Hey, it's coffee break time. Once again, I missed a video this week. Sorry about that, but you're going to be watching this on Friday morning. I can't believe how fast this week is just gone by. I got a great question. Normally I'm answering a lot of tech questions, but I also am a business guy, and I got a question here from Bill Baldwin. And he says, I have an idea of a request, not tech or geek related, but more the business side of your channel. As you, Bruce, have stated, you want to do more of these. Yes, I did. Regardless of industry, Bruce, what are your thoughts of doing business for the past few decades and the people you learned from before you? Well, I tell you what, Bill, boy, the last few decades of doing business, I've really seen quite an evolution on the way business is done. From the speed in which things occur, to the amount of regulations that's increased, to generally, I think, an improvement in the quality of products. And yet I've also seen what I consider to be a decrease in customer service, even though companies have better tools than ever to provide better customer service. As far as the people that I have learned from over the years, I come from from actually a financial services background many years ago. And that's a very tightly regulated and very, I won't say militarized, but certainly a industry that's very procedure driven, and everybody had to wear a suit and tie, and there were certain expectations I did things, and that has really evolved over the years. And some of the people that I've learned from, the basics remain the same. There's very good basics out there that has never changed, and the people that instill that in me have done well, and I've done well with that. So that answers the first part of your question. Now, continuing, you ask how has things in the business world changed and stayed the same, etc. Well, what has stayed the same? As I mentioned, the basics, and there's a personality on television by the name of Marcus Lemonis. He does a show called The Prophet, and he really boils it down very succinctly, and it is people, process, and product. Those three things have never changed doing business all these years. If you have good people, if you have the processes to enable them to do a good job in place, and you have a good viable product, then you've got all the fuel you need to have a business that's going to do well for many years. So that is one of the things that's definitely changed and stayed the same. It's true in the 1970s, 80s, 90s, the aughts, the teens. It's never changed. Any other things that have changed? Yes, communications. What used to take a week or two to get done in the business world can now be done within hours, or heck, I've seen even turn around in minutes. Take mail, for example. Back in the 70s, we had the conventional mailbox. If I wanted to communicate with you, I would write a letter, put it in the mail, it would be delivered, wait for you to respond to it, mail it back, etc. And now, email, almost instantaneous communications. That's really changed the business world and the way we do things, but it's also created kind of this hectic pace. We've really picked up the pace, so to speak, to almost unrealistic levels at times. We are now expected to be accessible almost at any and all times, and that's not good. That's a unfortunate byproduct of technology. So we have increased productivity, but we have, I think, a little bit less of that needed me time as well. So I've seen that in the business world. He also asks things that are no longer apply and are not legal anymore, or tech and or outsourcing took place specific jobs or complete industries away. Well, boy, I mean, there used to be so many different industries that no longer exist. For all practical purposes, a lot of the office supply stores and stuff is almost all went away because now we do things online. The business card, the traditional business card, has kind of went away for the most part. Business dress, suits and ties have kind of disappeared. As far as things as legal, illegal, there's a lot more illegal today than there or things that can get you sued much more easily today than it was back. They used to be able to get away with bloody murder back in the 70s, especially in the office environment. Seen a lot of harassment happen. We didn't think of it as at that time, but today a lot of that activity would get you sued. So a lot of that has really died down. We've seen the era of political correctness occur, and good, bad, or indifferent, it's here. So you have to be much more careful today as far as that goes. And of course, things like providing for handicapped people, more regulations involved in it. I mean, it was a lot less regulation at one time. Licensure, a lot of occupations didn't require licensure that requires today, and bonds and all that. So a lot of that has changed as well. Finally, the next question. Is it any easier or more difficult to be in business today, regardless of industry, versus the past? So let me explain how it's easier today than it used to be. For example, in the 70s, in the 80s, even the 90s really, when you opened a business, people expected you to have a business location, all right, an office. An office meant the dress clothes, it meant the desks, it meant expensive phone systems. It meant advertising was a lot different. I remember buying a quarter-page ad in the phone book in Kokomo, Indiana, and that cost me like $400 a month. And that was that. And of course, newspaper advertising, radio advertising, that's how you advertise. And it was very, very expensive because there was not a lot of competition out there in the advertising world. Things are so much different today as far as that. So the upfront costs of starting a business has dramatically been reduced. Attorneys, if I had a legal question, I had to hire an attorney who would then answer the question and charge me for it, or I could go to the library and try to get the answer on my own. Today I can Google a lot of stuff and get the information I need, or I can have legal documents drawn up for a fraction of the price. So all that's changed. The ability to work remotely, you no longer have to have that office, and people are accepting of people that work out of their home offices. I'll meet you in a Starbucks to do business, rather than a conference room and all the accoutrements of having an office. People are much more understanding of that today, and you can wear business casual rather than the traditional suit and ties. So that's a lot easier today. Now, what's more difficult is, as I mentioned, regulation. There's more taxes to be concerned about. There's more liability out there. There's more lawsuits that you may have to contend with. There is, of course, outsourcing, maybe become a competitor to you. The radical pace of technology making perhaps your product or service irrelevant a shorter period of time. Increased competition. I can hardly think of anything that doesn't have competition in this day and age. Again, the taxes, the CPAs, the lawyers. I think it's more on the regulatory side and the liability side, as far as, again, when we get back to the competition side of things. There was companies that survived making mediocre products for a long time based on the name brand, but people aren't as brand loyal today as they used to be back in the day. Take a look at Sears. Everybody used to shop at Sears, especially for appliances. Kenmore, you got Kenmore washer, you got Kenmore dryer. That's not the case anymore. In fact, Sears is on the verge of bankruptcy. So in one way, things are easier. The cost of starting a business and all that, the upfront costs are a lot cheaper. We have tools we had never even dreamed of back in the 80s. We have them available today. We pay nothing for long distance. I used to pay a $1,500 a month phone bill. $1,500 a month was my average phone bill back in, and that was in the mid 90s for long distance. $1,500 a month in long distance charges. Today, that's kind of phone bill is unheard of. Cost of computers. I was buying desktop PCs for my employees back in the day, and it was nothing to pay a couple $1,000 for a mediocre PC of the era. So that has really changed. Today has really, really changed. And again, the whole remote thing, you don't have to rent an office. That's a great question, a great series of questions, Bill. Thanks for asking. And that's just off the top of my head. So thanks for watching Coffee Break. We'll see you again on Monday morning, 9 o'clock. Be there, be square. They still say that. Am I dating myself? You don't like the hat either? Somebody else, they don't like my Colts hat. Later. Bye.